What's up, fam? Welcome to the Artisan City Church podcast. We're here to seek beauty from brokenness in St. Petersburg and beyond. Let's get into it.
Our teaching text today is John 21, 1 through 19. I'll give you a second to find it. After this, Jesus revealed himself again to his disciples by the Sea of Tiberias. He revealed himself in this way. Simon Peter, Thomas called twin, Nathanael from Cana of Galilee, Zebedee's son, and two others of his disciples were together. "I'm going fishing," Simon Peter said to them. "We're coming with you," they told him. They went out and got into the boat, but that night they caught nothing. When daybreak came, Jesus stood on the shore, but the disciples did not know it was Jesus. "Friends," Jesus called to him, "you don't have any fish, do you?" "No," they answered. "Cast the net on the right side of the boat," he told them, "and you'll find some." So they did, and they were unable to haul it in because of the large number of fish. The disciple, the one Jesus loved, said to Peter, "It is the Lord." When Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, he tied his outer clothing around him, for he had taken it off, and plunged into the sea. Since they were not far away from the land, about 100 yards away, the other disciples came in the boat, dragging the net full of fish. When they got out on the land, they saw a charcoal fire there with fish lying on it and bread. "Bring some of the fish you've just caught," Jesus told them. So Simon Peter climbed up and hauled the net ashore full of large fish, 153 of them. Even though there were so many, the net was not torn. "Come and have breakfast," Jesus told them. None of the disciples dared ask him, "Who are you?" because they knew it was the Lord. Jesus came, took the bread, and gave it to them. He did the same with the fish. This was now the third time Jesus appeared to the disciples after he was raised from the dead. When they had eaten some breakfast, Jesus asked Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" "Yes, Lord," he said to them. "You know that I love you." "Feed my lambs," he told him. A second time he asked him, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" "Yes, Lord," he said to them. "You know that I love you." "Shepherd my sheep," he told him. He asked him a third time, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" Peter was grieved that he asked him the third time. "Do you love me?" he said. "Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you." "Feed my sheep," Jesus said. "Truly I tell you, when you were younger, you would tie your belt and walk wherever you wanted. But when you grow old, you will stretch out in your hands, and someone else will tie you and carry you where you don't want to go," he said. This to indicate by what kind of death Peter would glorify God. After saying this, he told him, "Follow me." This is the word of the Lord.
Amen. Praise be to God. Good morning, everybody. It's like a curse when I'm speaking that I always get the loose music stand, so I'm just going to tighten that up real quick. So we're done with John. This is the last chapter. We made it. We've been in the Gospel of John since the very beginning, and today is the final chapter. And we are sad to leave, but at the same time excited for jumping into all of the different passages of Scripture in our teaching series coming in January and then throughout the rest of the year. We think it's going to be helpful, beneficial, and we're just really excited about it. But this morning, we're in the last chapter of John's Gospel. And as I prepared for this message, was looking at the story in the chapter and how Peter has this really crucial conversation with Jesus. And then last week during our services, we had baptisms. If you weren't here, we celebrated baptisms. We had 3 people that wanted to demonstrate walking into new life with Jesus. And one of those was a friend of ours named Noah. And one of the things that he said during his testimony before he was baptized really resonated with me. And what he said was this. He said that growing up in his life, in a lot of places, and especially in church, he didn't feel like he belonged. He didn't feel like he fit in. And that's how I felt growing up. And so it really resonated with me because it's still how I feel in spaces sometimes, right? They have a psychological term for this. It's called imposter syndrome. The definition of that is it's a psychological pattern where you doubt your accomplishments, skills, and abilities, feeling like a fraud who doesn't deserve success despite evidence of competence, often attributing achievements to luck or external factors and fearing exposure as a fake. And what's hard about imposter syndrome is that it's not completely inaccurate, right? Like if you've ever walked into a space where maybe you know a thing or two about whatever is being talked about in the room, or you have been in this space hundreds of times, if you get a little nervous about it and you're like, well, man, I don't know if I fit in here, it's because some of the fears that we have are accurate. They are informed by our past. They are informed by our experiences. They are informed by the things that we have learned psychologically growing up of like, oh, that social experiment that I just went through in middle school will make me tragically afraid of large crowds forever, right? Or talking to new people forever because it did not go well. Right? Some of the other things, right? You're afraid of success, even though you have you have some competency in the area, but you attribute it to luck. That's because luck does play a factor. It does. Let's be honest, right? If you look at the top 20 viral people on TikTok that have been interviewed, that have actually sat down and said, like, how did you become successful on TikTok? What they have in common is hard work. They all said, hey, we posted daily for years. How did you get to the top 20 though? Luckily, one of my videos just happened to resonate with people and they shared it. Luckily, that happened because luck does have something to do with it. And so we deal with imposter syndrome. I deal with imposter syndrome not because it's false completely, but because there's a grain of truth in it. And because there's a grain of truth in it, it makes it hard to make that voice quieter in our head, right? And so this is how I felt with my relationship with God for a long time. Not all the time, not every single day, but certain times where you wake up or you open your Bible or you begin to pray and you're just like, I don't know that I feel like I can talk to you right now. I don't know that I've done enough this week to warrant you giving me the time of day. I don't know that I have obeyed you well enough in this year for you to answer the prayer that I'm praying right now, right? I don't know that I've done everything that I needed to enough in my spiritual life, my moral life, vocationally, in my job, relationally with my family, my children, my friends, my neighbors. I don't know if I've done enough, and you get a little bit of spiritual imposter syndrome because there's a grain of truth in it. And we're like, man, I really messed it up this week. I don't know if I can talk to God about it. I don't feel like I can, right? What was the first thing that Adam and Eve did after they fell in the garden? They hid. And we begin to think, if only I was stronger, if only I was more disciplined, more faithful, it would be enough. I would feel like I belong. I wouldn't have to stress about this, have anxiety about this anymore. And if we're being honest, I think that it's not just like a little thing. I think it's a lot of our stories in our relationship with God that we ebb and flow from feeling like, okay, I've got to talk to God about this one. And then on this side, we're like, well, I don't know if I actually am even allowed to talk to God about this one. I don't know if I've earned it. We never feel like we're enough. There's always more to do. And I mean, that's our culture, right? Like we grind until there's nothing left. We don't stop when it's shiny. We keep going until it's dust. That's how we grind things out in our culture. It's just like we're going to just keep going, right? And sometimes we feel like fishermen with empty nets. All the effort, all the hard work, sleepless nights, and literally nothing to show for it. So if you've ever felt like that, if you've ever felt like following Jesus means being more than you are, having to do more, always trying to earn it to be enough, John 21 is included in the Bible for you and I. Peter and the disciples are in the boat with us. They're in the exact spot we're in. They gave Jesus their best, and it was not good enough. It failed catastrophically. They all ran. They all deserted. Peter denied him 3 times. They're hiding in an upper room when he's resurrected. They don't even believe it, really. They run to the tomb. Then he shows up in the room like 3 or 4 times. Eats with them. Lets Thomas poke his scars, right? And yet they're still in the room. Like, that's where John 21 finds them. They're sitting in the upper room. He's revealed himself to them, and they're still sitting in this room. They haven't actually asked Jesus what's next. They've just kind of like, he's appeared. They're like, oh yeah, Jesus, hey, what's up? And then he leaves, and they're like, I'm not going out there. I don't know if I should go out there. We deserted him. Like, he hasn't told us that we're okay yet. I don't know. What are we supposed to do? And right in the middle of this confusion, this emptiness, this shame, Jesus steps onto the shore with breakfast. I don't know that there is a more loving way to greet someone than with like hot breakfast, right? And so Jesus steps onto the shore with breakfast, meets them where they're at, and wants to reveal to them who he is fully, right? This is no longer, hey, I'm kind of speaking in parables. I'm kind of alluding to what's going to happen. I am marching towards something, but you're not really sure what it is. Now he's like, no, you've seen all of it now. The plan has been accomplished. Not only has sin been taken care of, death has been taken care of. I rose from the dead. I'm back. I've got things for you to do, but I need you to know who I am so that you can then go and do them. And so he steps on the shore. He says, hey, sit down and let me tell you who I am completely. And so there's a couple of things that Jesus reveals himself to be in this chapter that we need to take note of. And the first one is this, that Jesus is our source of provision. He's our source of provision, right? They fished all night. Professional fishermen. Peter, Andrew, James, John, like they ran a fishing business. This was like what they did. And they fished all night in a very lucrative lake, right? The Sea of Galilee was like a major fishing spot in the Middle East. And they caught nothing at all. And then Jesus just says, have you tried putting them on the other side of the boat? Just take the nets and put them on the other side. It's that easy. It's like when you call tech support and you're like, hey, I can't get my thing to work. Have you tried turning it on and off again? I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I don't do that, but I tell them I have. Like, as soon as they pick up the phone, I'm like, listen, I've turned it on again and off again 3 times. Here's what's happening. Because I want them to actually try and like solve the problem instead of like, doing that and then, okay, well, now let's try turning this thing off again and on. I'm like, hey, please just like go beyond, like I want you to hack into my thing and look at the stuff, Sorry, I digress. But the TV wasn't working. That's another thing. Like that's one of those things, right? I was back there trying to turn it off again and on. Anyway, so I apologize to everybody on this side of the room that the slides are all the way over here. We don't know what's went wrong. Again, church plant, we're figuring it out. But a new whatever it is on the way. So we'll get it fixed next week. Jesus says, hey, try the nets on the other side. And so they do, right? And they don't know who this guy is at this point, right? Scholars are varied on their opinions. It's like, did he look different because he was a glorified body now? Was it because he was far off on the shore? Were the disciples just like that tired? We don't know. But something was different. They didn't recognize Jesus. And so they're like, well, what have we got to lose, right? We're exhausted at this point. Like, if we don't catch anything, we're not only going to be hungry, but we're going to look like idiots because we have this professional fishing operation and we caught nothing. So they put the nets on the other side and then they catch like a record-setting haul of fish. It's literally like the fish were following them the whole time on the other side of the boat, just out of reach of their nets, just like waiting on Jesus to tell them what to do. They were just like, all right, are they ever going to do it? He was the provision. He was the provision. They were skilled, they were experienced, but Jesus was the provision. It is all empty without Jesus. In our lives, eventually our ability to provide for ourselves will be found lacking. It will be found lacking. There will come a bill that is way too high. There will come a diagnosis that you cannot get around. There will come a job loss or a new life, like, right, having a baby, your ability to provide, all of a sudden you're like, can I do this? Like, are they really gonna let me take this thing home? Because I don't know what I'm doing. And then that first drive home, you're like 3 miles an hour all the way, right? So our ability to provide will be challenged and we will be found lacking unless we make the source of provision Jesus, where we're saying, hey, we have done everything that we can do with the gifts that God has given us to do this, and yet it's never going to be enough unless he is providing, and we are putting our trust in that. And so Jesus provides them with fish that they couldn't catch, with breakfast that they didn't cook, and he gives them presents that they didn't expect they were going to have, right? He says, hey, I am not demanding that you be productive for me. You are to follow me, to do what I've asked you to do. But it is not about a quota. It's about dependence. Are you depending on me? And that is driving what you're doing. You're not doing it to earn my love. You're not doing it to try and be enough. I am the provision. Just depend on it. See, because provision is going to follow surrender. It's not going to follow striving. You're going to work yourself to death and you will still be found lacking. Provision wasn't even really their biggest need, though. Their biggest need was the one that you and I also carry. What do we do with failure? What do we do with my failure? What do we do with your failure when we blow it? When we say the thing that we should have kept inside, but we let it outside? Right? Or when we're in a hurry and we're like, oh, this stop sign there's no one coming. And then like the cop like whips right out behind us and we're like, how? Where were you? We don't know what to do with failure sometimes. A lot of times we freeze. Our fight or flight kicks in and we just go, I'm not going to do either. I'm just going to stand here because I really don't know what to do. And that's what the disciples were doing. They had frozen. They did not know what to do as followers of Jesus anymore. Post-resurrection, after their failure, they did not even know how to have a conversation with Jesus. The last conversation they had was them basically saying, like, we're not going to believe until we see you eat something. And then he eats some fish. And we're not going to believe until we poke your scars and see that they're real. And then they're like, oh, it is you. And then he disappeared. Like, that was the extent of the conversation. And so they don't really even know how to just have like a, hey, Jesus, like, what's happening? Can we talk about this? I feel bad about what happened. And so this is the next thing that Jesus is, and he's our source of restoration. He's our source of restoration. Jesus addresses Peter, but he is addressing all of the disciples, right? They're all around the fire, but he addresses Peter. Why does he address Peter? Well, Peter is the de facto leader, right? Peter is the passionate visionary who Jesus is like, hey, we're gonna be fishers of men. And Peter's like, yes. And then Peter always takes like 3 steps further. He's like, yeah, we're gonna be fishers of men. And then we're gonna sack Rome. And then we're gonna put you on the throne. And I'm gonna cut this dude's ear off. And Jesus is like, whoa. I didn't say any of that. And he's always having to reel him back, right? But Peter is the one who always jumps before he looks, right? He's leaping before he looks. We notice that because John in the boat says, it's the Lord. And Peter's like, I'm out. And he jumps right in the water, right? And so Peter is the de facto leader. Peter is the one who brought them all fishing, right? It was Peter's idea. He is leading the other disciples. And so Jesus says, hey, I've got to fix this leadership problem so that you all understand what's happening. If he won't come back to me, if we can't be restored, then none of you are going to want to be restored either, because you know what happened. Everybody knew what happened. I mean, Jesus literally predicted it, right? You're going to deny me 3 times and the rooster's going to crow. How awkward was that later, right? When he comes, when all the disciples get back together and they're like, yo, Peter, what was up with that rooster thing? He's like, I don't want to talk about it. And so they're all sitting around the fire. And I just want you to notice how personal Jesus gets with this restoration. Jesus mirrors the night of his arrest, right? He breaks bread with them, which is what he did right before he was arrested. He sits them around a fire just like Peter and some of the other disciples sat around while he was being interrogated by the Jewish High Council. And then just like Peter denied him 3 times, Jesus asked him 3 times, do you love me? Do you love me? And notice what he does not say to Peter. Hey, Peter, explain yourself. Why weren't you stronger? Are you ever going to get it right? Can I trust you again? But what does he say? He says, do you love me? It's grace, it's not guilt. He heals him through relationship. Hey, sit around the fire, eat with me, share a meal with me before we even talk about what's happened. Know that you still have a seat at my table. You are still welcomed in. Peter doesn't have to prove anything. He simply has to love Jesus. And that's the truth, right? Jesus doesn't restore you by rehashing your failure, right? He's trying to get you to renew your love. He's like, hey, remember our relationship. It's not about what's happened. It's about who we are together. We have a relationship. I have paid for it with my blood. It does not get washed away that easily by you messing something up. In essence, he is telling Peter here, hey, bro, I heard every denial. I know I was in another, but I heard every single one of them. Remember who I am. I knew the whole time. I told you it was going to happen beforehand. All I need you to do is remember who I am, and as an expression of trust me. Because you wouldn't trust me the night of my arrest. You wouldn't trust me the night I was crucified. I said, hey, this is going to happen. And you wouldn't hear anything about it until it did happen. I need you to trust me that I know what's going on. I understand what's going to happen, and I will prepare you for each step. Love me. Love me. The restoration's already happened. The restoration has already been paid for. The restoration is in the cross. It was nailed to the cross. It's there for eternity. You don't have to be restored over and over and over again with Jesus. What he wants is for you to remember the relationship that you have, remember the love that he has for you and that you have for him, and that moves you beyond the failure. Hey, I've got to turn away from this. I have to remember who Jesus is and remember that I trust him. And that's really all that our rebellion is. That's all sin. It comes down to a trust issue. Do we trust that Jesus knows better than us? Do we trust him enough to give him control? Do we trust him enough to do it his way? And if we don't, that's when we sin. When we take the reins and we try and do it our way, that's when sin happens. And so Jesus is like, listen, I told you what was going to happen. I know that you love me. I know everything, right? Peter even admits it, right? You know all things. You know that I love you. And he's like, you're right. I do know that you love me. And I need you to trust me now because I have more for you to do. So he restores them. And then the third thing is that Jesus is our source of purpose. He's our source of purpose. So he's our provision. He's our restoration, and he's our purpose. Jesus is restoring them to give them a new purpose. Jesus isn't saying, hey, work off your debt to me for all of the screw-ups that you've done, for me dying for you. Like, that was a pretty big deal, guys. I need you to work this off. No. He's not saying prove your loyalty, try harder. The bar's actually up here, jump a little bit next time. He's saying, hey, I have a purpose for you, and I just need you to trust me enough to step into it. You're going to have to depend on me. I'm going to have to be the provision. I'm going to have to be the one who restored you. I'm going to have to be the source of this purpose because the next thing is huge. And notice what he says. What did he say? He says, feed my lambs. What are lambs? They're small sheep. They're about to start the church. It's going to be a bunch of baby little, don't know anything about Jesus Christians. You're going to have to feed them, Peter. And then they're going to get a little bit older and you're going to have to shepherd them. Who's the great shepherd? Jesus is the great shepherd. So Peter's like, oh, you want me to do like what you've been doing? Yes. You're going to shepherd the sheep. You're going to lead them. You're going to guide them. You're going to correct them. You're going to protect them. You will be the shepherd. And the last thing he says, and then also feed them as well. Feed the new, feed the seasoned. You will lead my people. You will lead the church. And he says, hey, Peter, this purpose is way bigger than you. That's why you've got to know where you and I stand. This side of the resurrection. It's paid for. You don't have to run anymore. You're never going to go back to fishing. That life is over. When you decided to follow me, that life stopped. And this is the last time you ever need to go back to fishing to try and find purpose. Purpose never depends on perfection. It depends on relying on Jesus. It depends on his forgiveness, his calling you, his love, his presence in your life. That is what purpose depends on. But that purpose does not come without a cost, right? That's what the whole last part of the teaching text today is about. Right? Jesus reveals to Peter what this purpose will cost. And that's why the last thing that Jesus is our ultimate deliverance. He is our ultimate deliverance. Jesus tells Peter the truth in a loving way, but he tells Peter the truth. Peter, this is going to cost you your life. Right? That's what he's saying. Peter, historically, according to church history and secular historians, Peter was crucified upside down minutes after his wife was also crucified in front of him. He died for his faith. And that's what Jesus is talking about here. When you're older, you'll stretch out your arms and you'll be carried where you don't want to go. You will die for this purpose. But I'm still your ultimate deliverance. And that's why the last thing that he tells Peter in this teaching text is, follow me. Follow me. Follow me. See, Jesus delivers Peter through death, not around it. And sometimes we think that Jesus' deliverance is like removing the obstacle in our way. When really he's like, no, we're going to pass through the obstacle together. Because again, there's a purpose. And so there is a purpose in the pain of this obstacle, in this process. But trust that I am the deliverer, and it is already taken care of. It's not escaping suffering. It's Jesus transforming it before our eyes for our good. Love, recognize Jesus in the boat, right? The disciple whom Jesus loved, John, author of the gospel that we've been in for 21 weeks. He recognized Jesus as it's the Lord. But see, obedience experiences Jesus. Who got out of the boat? Who got in the water? Who swam to shore? Peter obeyed. He said, if it's the Lord, I'm going. If it's the Lord, I'm going. Jesus tells Peter to follow him. And what he's really saying is, hey, stop trying to be enough and let me be everything. And that's really the last thing that I want you to take with you today. The thing, if you don't remember anything else I've said, understand this. We don't have to be anything for Jesus. We just have to trust him to be our everything. Right? We don't have to be anything for Jesus. There are no requirements on us. There are no like, hey, you have to do X, Y, and Z, and then you can come to me. You have to like live a certain way. You have to, like behave at your job in this particular role. You have to get married. You have to have X amount of kids. It's none of that. We just have to trust him to be our everything. So if you've got empty hands, he's going to provide. If you're ashamed, he's going to restore you. If you are aimless and lost, he's going to give you a purpose. If you're anxious about the future, he's going to deliver you through it. He will be everything. Back in the early 2000s, late 90s, there was this rock band that was very, very popular. And I always liked them, but I don't know if it was like they're so bad that they're popular again now. They've like kind of enjoyed a resurgence lately on like TikTok and some other things, and they're like touring again, which is really weird because like again they fell hard out of popularity. Like I think they're the reason butt rock was a term that was invented. I'm talking about Creed. That's who I'm talking about. And listen, I've always embraced them with arms wide open. You're welcome for that. But here's the thing. There's a lot of, you can actually go watch interviews on YouTube where the band members are asked about the lyrics to the songs and like, yeah, there's like very symbolically Christian lyrics in your music. And a lot of them are like, yeah, we had no idea until after the song got really popular. And they were like, Scott, did you put Christian lyrics in our songs? And he was like, yeah. And they had no idea for a little bit. And then they did. And again, they were never trying to be like they were never trying to be a Christian band. They were obviously trying to be a rock band. And Scott Stapp, the lead singer, like has had some of the worst 2 decades of any professional musician that I've ever seen. Like drug abuse, tried to commit suicide multiple times, was in legal trouble, was sued, just all kinds of stuff. And by no means is a perfect individual. But there's a song that came on the other day, and it just made me think about John 21 and Jesus being our everything, right? So there's this really famous song that they have called One Last Breath, and here's just a few of the lyrics. It says, I'm looking down now that it's over, reflecting on all of my mistakes. I thought I found the road to somewhere in his grace. I cried out, heaven save me, but I'm down to one last breath. And with it, let me say, hold me now. I'm 6 feet from the edge and I'm thinking, maybe 6 feet ain't so far down. If you don't know, a grave is 6 feet deep. And then the last part of the song says, sad eyes follow me, but I still believe there's something left for me. So please come stay with me because I believe there's something left for you and me. So this song was literally written by Stapp as he is dealing with suicidal thoughts, thinking about ending his life, having struggled in his relationship with Christ for almost his entire life. And he says, man, I've got one breath left. I'm going to need you to do everything. Because if I use my last breath to ask for help again, I'm done. We hear it said all the time, and we seldom take it to heart. Let it be different today. There's no amount of success that will satisfy you. No amount of striving that's going to result in you having enough or feeling like you are enough. You will still have an emptiness in you, desperate to be filled. And the thing Jesus wants to do is show you that he is enough. He can be everything. He can fill the emptiness. And he wants to. But we have to trust him. We have to say, yes, I will let you be everything. Yes, I will put my life in your hands. If I've got one breath left, it's yours. You do what you need to do with it. And so every week we try and give you some handles to live this out in your week. What does it look like for John 21 to be lived out in your week? And again, these are by no means exhaustive. It's just some ideas, just some things to get you started. And so the first one, if you are brand new to church, if you're brand new to Jesus, or you never even followed Jesus before, your step this week is to let Jesus be everything, to step across the line, to give your life in his hands, to begin following him and say, hey, Jesus, it's yours. My life is yours. I'm going to put it in your hands. I'm going to trust you. I'm going to do what you have asked and give you all that I've got so that you can be everything. And if you need to know more information about that or questions about that, you can talk to one of our response team members. You can check the Begin Following Jesus little box on the Connect card, and we would love to call you and talk to you more about that, or go grab a coffee and talk to you about what that looks like. But that is if you are brand new to church or Jesus, or you don't even know, right, what you are. That's your step, is to identify, like, I'm going to be with Jesus. I'm going to let him control it. And then if you're in the room and you are a Jesus follower this week, it's really two things. The first thing is to be like the Apostle John, who recognizes Jesus and tells everybody else in the boat about it, right? And so invite someone to the Christmas service next week. Like, it's not even on Christmas Eve. They're not really going to be busy. It's still on a Sunday. Hey, why don't you come with me? Here's what Jesus has done in my life. Like, if you want to know how to invite someone to church, if they're talking about like how bad their days, be like, yeah, man, I've been there. Here's what Jesus has done in my life. I would love to like give you a ride to church. Let me buy you a cup of coffee on the way. And again, if you don't know this person, they might think you're weird for like trying to get them in your car. So, have a relationship first, get to know them. Don't run up to, strangers on the street. But we do have invite cards if you want to run up to strangers on the street, and you can just be like, hey, I want to invite you to this. We have plenty of them. You can grab them. You can take them with you. Put a stack in your car everywhere you go. Hand them out. But next week, we're literally talking about the hope for all of humanity. Just like we do every week. But Christmas is a time where people are looking, because the holidays can be hard. So invite someone. And the second thing this week that's a little bit more personal and practical for you is in your quiet time, whatever that looks like. If it's a prayer on the way to work, if it's you wake up early and you get a good cup of coffee and you spend like an hour in the work, like whatever that is, right? I have no idea where you're at on that, but whatever kind of time you get daily with Jesus, instead of trying to like do the normal, what I want you to do is I want you to change it up a little bit this week, and I want you to focus on what Jesus has done for you. Not just the cross, but like daily, as you have lived your life following him. What has he done for you? What are the things that he just continues to be consistently doing in your life all of the time? How is he being everything for you? Because usually when you practice gratitude and you look at those things, the things where you feel like they're deficient don't seem as deficient anymore, because you're like, well, if he's providing over here and if he's doing all of these things, I can trust him over here. And then if you want to go deeper this week, if you're like, hey, I've got all that, but let me sink my teeth into something, then I'm going to tell you to ask Jesus where to throw your nets on the other side. Where are you sowing all of this effort and energy and hard work, losing sleep maybe, and it's producing nothing? Lay that before him and say, Jesus, where do I need to throw these nets? Because this is not working. Direct me, guide me, show me. Where is it that you want me to do this? Where do you want me to go looking? Where do you want me to put the energy and the effort and the time? Because he will absolutely direct that. Ask him where to cast the net. And so the band's going to play. And we're going to move into our response time. And again, I just want to preface that because, every Sunday is somebody's first Sunday. And so what a response time is for you to not do these things right now, because this is like during your week, right? I don't want you the band starts playing and you immediately go run to find someone to invite. That would be really cool, but that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, this is your time to go, okay, this is what John 21 is about. And I'm going to respond to Jesus based on how he has moved in me while we've sat here and studied it today. Right? And so if it's like confession, right? Confession is a lot like putting your trash can out every week for the garbage truck, right? You filled all these bags up during the week and you're trying to like offload it. And man, if you forget that it's trash day, it is the worst at your house that week because you're like, where am I going to put all these bags of garbage that I keep filling up? That's why confession is such a beautiful thing, because you can go forward and you can say, here, Jesus, here's all of my crap. And he says, great. I've already taken care of that. Maybe it's just getting prayer. Like you have a prayer request. You have a legitimate thing that you need God to do in your life. You can go to one of our prayer partners. Our response team members are on the sides of the room every week, and they want to hear what it is that you're praying about so that we can join you in prayer. We can go before God with you. Right before I pray, I just want you to close your eyes. I just want you to imagine, right? The disciples see the Sea of Galilee, see the fire on the shore, see them sitting around talking to Jesus. Imagine how much peace descended on the disciples when they realized what Jesus was doing with Peter. Restoration. Peter, I love you. It's okay. It's already been paid for. We're fine. I've got more for you. Can you imagine how nervous and anxious they felt walking to the fire, walking to the shoreline, getting out of the boat? And then how much peace they felt with full bellies and the love of Jesus just coming over them. Like, imagine what it would look like if we all trusted Jesus, not because we're performing at an optimum level and earning it, but because he's everything. We don't worry about fitting in. We trust God to give us our place. We let grace restore us instead of letting shame define us. We follow Jesus with no comparison, no fear. We replace grinding with gratitude. It's the biblical picture of the church, is sitting together as a body, listening to Jesus, knowing that he loves us, knowing that we love him, and knowing that he is everything, and that every step can be directed by him. Every step he is going to guide the way. Every step he's going to walk with us. And anytime there's a doubt and we're like, man, Lord, I don't know. We can look in his eyes and he says, listen, you don't have to be anything. I'm already everything. I've done it. I've taken care of it. It is finished. Jesus, we love you. Thank you for being everything. Thank you for loving us in spite of us. Thank you that we can come before you as your children with no separation anymore, with no guilt, no shame, because you've already taken care of those things, that there is no separation between us any longer. Jesus, that we need you. Holy Spirit, we ask you to move in this time, God. Direct us, convict us, correct us, love on us. God, if someone came in today just needing a hug, would you just let them feel that from you in this time, God, as we respond? God, just make your home in our hearts. Help us to trust you with everything. In the name that we pray. Amen.
Appreciate you listening. Hit subscribe, drop a review, and share this with a friend. Find us at artisancity.church or on Instagram at artisancitychurch. And if you're local, come hang with us in downtown St. Pete. Let's keep passionately pursuing God's presence, practices, and people as we pour ourselves out for the good of the city.